Hey folks, I'm Derek Wolfson. Clearly I'm not in class today, but I told Glenn I'd make this video in lieu of doing my presentation. So let's get started. I chose the paper title, The Runaway Competitive Fringe, How File Sharing is Disrupting the Music Industry. This was by Chad T. Fulton in June 2009, advised by Glenn Waddell. Basically, Chad broke this paper up into 4 different sections. The first one being the background, the second one being literature review, the third one being a theoretical model, and the fourth one being the conclusion. So I'm going to get into the background, and this seemed to be the meat of the paper. It was about 15 pages. It basically discussed the structure and mechanics of the music industry, as well as music as a medium. It goes through how, from record to compact disc to MP3, and how that has kind of harbored this new peer-to-peer file sharing, through Napster. I'm sure we've all heard of this. We kind of grew up in that era. But the background was really dense and had a lot of information, which made me kind of think that this might be more of a consulting type economics paper as opposed to an academic type. In my short economics education, I've been more exposed to, stuff that's inspired by data and econometric analysis, and this one seemed to be more based around, how does this work, and then later in the paper he gets into comparing it to a competitive fringe model, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But the second part of the paper is a literature review. It's kind of vague. I don't think it was done all that well personally, but he does focus on this one paper by Ober, Halser, Guy, and Strumpf. Apparently these guys had tons of data and have done the most thorough econometric analysis of this subject, and have basically come to find that file sharing doesn't really affect the sales of the industry, monopoly that much at all. He doesn't really get into how they get to that, so I don't know how to tell you guys because I don't know myself. But he does mention one other economist's critique of this paper, which mentions that it might not be that valid. So it does say that there are a lot of mixed reviews of how file sharing has affected the or how it has affected the sales of these large monopoly of record companies. Furthermore, it gets into how the actual supply chain has changed. Small record stores are closing, more big retailers are buying CDs, perhaps making a more efficient marketplace, meaning that sales kind of go down because there's not all this leftover inventory, because clearly these big record labels make money on selling them to suppliers, not by selling them directly to consumers. And also there's not a match of market. Some people won't buy music regardless. Some people will always buy their music. They say that there may be some people that will only download free music but are not looking into buying music, and there's not really a equilibrium between those two people to say, like, oh, there's actually a substitute here. So furthermore, I'm going to get into his model, which he uses the fringe monopoly model, where there's like fringe firms that come in and kind of are price takers, given the monopolist being able to set prices. I was first exposed to this model with like oil companies and big monopoly oil companies versus small fringe companies. I'm not going to get too much into the nuts and bolts of the model because I don't know if I understand it that well, but he does define it really well and explain why this should work this way. Unfortunately, it doesn't in the real world, and he does go at great lengths to explain that, and I'll just kind of highlight that. There's 2 main causes. One is kind of what I got at, is that they're not perfect substitutes. Some people value legal music more than other people, whether it's the inherent cost of like getting in a lawsuit or getting these huge punitive damages that we've heard come down on some people that have downloaded immense amounts of music, and also that the large record companies can kind of bundle CDs and sell CDs that have a bunch of filler, and likewise that they can kind of sell to people that are willing to buy music, and that's where they market their products. So they're not marketing to people that have no willingness to pay for music anyways, which are the people that are mostly using peer-to-peer file sharing, which may not be entirely correct, but is kind of my intuition about it. To critique it, I think that this paper maybe is too long. As far as the background, it just seems like it kind of jumps around the background and kind of feels like a more historical thing as opposed to an economic paper, which may just be me not understanding the different fields of academics. Maybe this is more towards consulting as opposed to the academic side. It doesn't seem like he has a lot of data. He just kind of applies it to a model, which I think he does really well. But again, this may be because I'm unsure of what the kind of fields of economic research there are. And yeah, that's all. If you have any questions, feel free to email me, or I'm sure Glenn could answer a couple as he advised this paper if he remembers. But anyways, farewell, and you guys have a good weekend. Thanks. Bye.